Doing philosophy is a lot like standing in front of a whole lecture hall full of students with a huge mirror to your back. You're trying to systematically explain why that image being reflected back in the mirror is not you. While you're doing this, you're sort of pointing at yourself and all the various characteristics of the image of you, and pointing then to yourself and trying to describe and define the exact reasons that there's a difference between the two. And then when all the audience gets up and leaves, it's completely empty. The philosopher turns to the mirror. He he doesn't say anything. He just recognizes himself. That's kind of what philosophy is like. It's a weird psychological mode of being, or you could call it an addiction. It's a calling, and when it's called you, it's like a disease that you catch. But diseases aren't necessarily foreign invaders. They're just elements of ourselves that become more pronounced at certain times. If we learn to accept them, then they can blossom into something beautiful, even if it's the kind of virus that actually kills. That's how life works, and life isn't just your body. It's what nourishes and gave rise to and currently surrounds your body as well. Just to philosophize for a little bit, now that I've explained why I do it, or at least described one way of looking at it. There's a war going on right now. Actually, there's many wars. The war between civilization and nature, or between technology and being, the war between mind and body, the war between economics and ecology, the war between self and other, the war between the Bush White House and the quote-unquote nation we call Iraq. But nation is really Pentagon euphemism for installed puppet dictatorship. Which war? And I want to kind of get to the origins of all of these wars. One way of describing that is by using this technology versus being metaphor as a representation for the core of the struggle between self and other that's occurring. It's the war against time. Being is really becomingness, and becomingness is really eternal. It's not changing, but it appears to. And when becomingness gets divided into time, man becomes anxious, and he invents technology. I think technology came before even agriculture. Daniel Quinn will say that civilization is the real enemy, that it stockpiles food and protects surpluses and raises armies and systematically destroys any ecosystem it inhabits. But I think there's something deeper going on than that. I think there's something more primordial, more fundamental. The body needs food to nourish it, sure, but the soul needs time to nourish it. And once we've separated ourselves from time, we inevitably feel the need to control it. We learned how to use calendars way before we learned how to grow food, because you're not going to be able to farm unless you understand the seasons in a very accurate and detailed way. It wasn't the seeds of grain that began the war of existence against itself. It was the desire to control time. Man reached into the stars not only for fire, but for a record of the rhythms of time itself. And only after that could it invent agriculture. All these wars are going on, and some of them have supposedly political solutions, others have ecological solutions, some have intersubjective and personal solutions, and some of them have existential solutions, or possibly spiritual solutions. Depending on what we think is really fundamental, that's where we're going to look to apply the Band-Aid, or better yet, heal the wound. We could just stitch up the surface of the wound and leave the underlying tissue in need of repair, or we could do the dirty work, which is getting to the root of it, the real war. And by trying to gain insights into time which is what really allows us to understand that word existence, or being, or consciousness. It's all about time, how we conceive of it, how we experience it. And if you start to pay attention to it, it begins to unfold, and then it doesn't stop unfolding. And at that point it just dissolves, because it doesn't end. It has no end, no beginning and no ending. It's eternal. That's the big secret about time. It's eternal. Perpetually becomingness, that doesn't even make sense. I mean, the grammar or anything that I'm saying, that's because it's truly a secret. You can't make sense of it. The secret still needs to be told, though. It's like the antidote to this mass suicide that civilization is attempting. The real solution, it's not going to be political. It's not going to be some type of activism. It's not going to be trying to shake other people and get them to wake up. It's about waking up ourselves, because awakening has to come from inside. If you try to grasp something around you and hold that up as the truth, you're always going to be missing the one witnessing the truth. That's the truth. The seer. The being. Capital B. God. Eternity. The ultimate bliss. Heaven, nirvana. That's the secret of time, of existence. But it makes absolutely no sense, and it is absolutely absurd.